Okay, 6RH. So our third grammar lesson of the week is a writing task. We've done two discrete grammar lessons focused on modal verbs and then the active and passive voice. And today is an opportunity for you to show what you've learned from those lessons. I've picked a picture to act as an inspiration for our writing task today, and I've picked it very carefully. Today is Wednesday, the 11th of November, and it's Remembrance Day. It is the day where we remember those who fought and gave their lives for our freedom. And it's on this day because at the end of World War I in 1918, the 11th of November was the time where all hostilities or fighting between the different armies was halted. I want you to look very carefully at the picture before we start this task. I want you to look at the colours, I want you to look at what's going on and imagine where that could be. To help you with your work, I've written a short introduction that could act as a story starter. As the sun shone gently, the little red faces turned, peering skyward. The land showed no sign of the devastation which had plagued this site only a year earlier. Now you could then use that to continue. You could either do a flashback and talk about what happened that year earlier, or you can continue to see what happens at this point. Now there's two options. You could write a short conversation between a boy and his mother about what is going on in this picture. Or you could continue the story, use some descriptive techniques. You could use Alan Peake sentence types, you could use dialogue, and you could use inverted commas that we have covered in the past. Now, to go with that, I added another sheet. I've asked us on our plan of lessons to think about using relative clauses, and this is the Alan Peake structure that will help you to show you can use relative clauses. So we have noun, who, which, and where sentences. This is how they work. We have a noun followed by a comma. So in the first example, we have the word cakes. We have a comma, and then we use the relative pronoun. And now this is what is important. A relative clause is a subordinate clause, an additional clause. However, they always start with a relative pronoun. In this case, we're using the relative pronoun which. Cakes, which taste fantastic, are not so good for your health. Underneath, we start with Mr. Timms, comma. Now, instead of using the relative pronoun which, we've used who. The reason we've chosen who is because Mr. Timms is a person. So Mr. Timms, who is my favourite teacher, is leaving the school soon. The sections in blue would make sense on their own. Mr. Timms is leaving the school soon. Cakes are not so good for your health. The sections in black are additional pieces of information. They are relative clauses. They relate the information in that section to the noun. Cakes, which taste fantastic. Mr. Timms, who is my favourite teacher. They're very simple. They don't need to be overcomplicated. But what I'd love to see is you have a go at adding in a relative clause to a sentence in your work today. See what happens. See whether you find it easy. If you need a bit of advice on how best to do it, send me a message on Class Dojo or on Seesaw. But have a go, and when you've finished, upload your work. It'll be really interesting to see who manages to use this sentence structure.